Hi everyone, my name is Cameron Nix and this is
Victoria McDonough.
and our campaign proposal we're going to talk about being aware is taking care. Are you at risk for HIV? And so throughout this presentation, I'll be going over a basic overview of what our campaign is. Victoria will talk about the audience, who we're addressing, and then how we're addressing them through our channel analysis. And then I'll go back over goals and objectives and how that relates to everything we've talked about thus far, and then our message strategies, so what those messages are, and then how we're addressing them. And so we've talked about the title, but what does this pertain? So our campaign will be about HIV, or the human immunodeficiency virus. This is something that affects the immune system and can lead to a worser condition called AIDS. It's also something that is highly prevalent in the United States. As of 2018, 1.2 million people were diagnosed with HIV, diagnosed and undiagnosed individuals. And then HIV is something that affects a wide range of individuals, not just youth, but older adults as well. And so youth accounted for 21% of new diagnoses of HIV as of 2018, and older adults accounted for slightly less, as 17%.
So moving on to audience, our target audience, as you can see, are older adults aged 50 and up. We also chose to include physicians of these older adults, and they will be utilized because they have direct contact with these older adults. There's also, it's been very known that there's an issue of older adults having a lack of knowledge about HIV, and there's also a lack of HIV testing in older adults. So there is a perception, according to ARIA, that states patients are uncomfortable when talking about something as scary as HIV. So you will see how this will all connect in our channel analysis. Once you see that older adults still prefer to receive their information physically in person rather than online. So our campaign incorporates 4 major modes to reach our audience. And first up, we have incorporated a commercial to be displayed within the hospital waiting rooms. That way, during regular checkups, these older adults can be informed about HIV. According to Perrin and Anderson, over half of adults aged 65 and older who use the internet have a Facebook account or use Facebook. It is also really important to have constant communications with physicians and patients, being that they will be our audience's main source of information. And lastly, we also have an informational pamphlet that will be given out at doctors' offices for awareness to be spread to these patients.
Yes, and so what we've talked about so far relating back to our audience and channel analysis are our goals and objectives. So our first goal is to increase the knowledge that older adults have about both HIV contraction and risk. And in addition to that, by increasing that knowledge, we also hope to see an increase in HIV testing among older adults, hopefully by 5% and 10% respectively. And then our objectives relate back to what we talked about with our channel analysis. So we'd love to create those pamphlets and create those commercials that will hopefully benefit our goals.
So moving on to message strategies, the theory that we chose for this campaign is the health belief model. And we chose this theory because it can really help address motivations that encourage individual behavior change among older adults.
And so the first constructs of the health belief model are the perceived susceptibility and perceived severity. So relating to perceived susceptibility, it's the likelihood that older adults feel that they will not only get HIV, but also get tested for HIV. Whereas severity would be how serious older adults believe HIV would be once they get it. And so as you increase susceptibility, increase severity, you hope to increase the likelihood of behavior change. And so we hope to address these constructs through the methods of a commercial that we've talked about with our channel analysis. And so within that, describing US statistics about those older adults within HIV, for example, that 17% of new HIV diagnoses, 17% of those were from older adults. And then hopefully in our pamphlet, we'll talk about the symptoms and transmission and prevention as seen on the slide. And so those things will hopefully increase the likelihood that older adults feel that they have for contracting HIV, and as well as perceiving HIV as something being very severe and having major consequences.
So the next group of constructs related to the health belief model are perceived benefits versus perceived barriers. And the only way that our campaign can spark individual change will be if our perceived benefits outweigh these perceived barriers. So an example of this, something that would be a perceived benefit would motivate the older adults to get tested for HIV, while something that would be a perceived barrier would deter older adults from getting tested for HIV. Our campaign will hit on these constructs through the communication with doctors or physicians by describing the benefits of getting tested for HIV. One great example of this is the lessen your viral load method. Cameron, would you like to explain that?
Absolutely. So when lessening your viral load, essentially what you are doing is you are lessening the amount of physical virus that is located in that individual. And so by doing that, you are lessening the amount that those individuals are contagious. And so by doing that, we hope to see that individuals get tested earlier so that they can actually reduce that viral load and reduce the amount of contagious they are to other individuals.
Thank you for that. So the other way to address perceived barriers is to talk about the stigma that comes with HIV, as we've seen in the pamphlet. This will really help. It will show older adults that HIV is prevalent not just among the LGBTQIA+ community, but also heterosexual individuals. And finally, overall, by doing these things, the message that this campaign hopes to address is that it is more beneficial than harmful at the end of the day to get tested for HIV.
And so finally, we'd love to address the two concepts of self-efficacy and acute to action. So self-efficacy and acute to action are related to HIV testing specifically. So self-efficacy would be how confident older adults are in getting tested for HIV, as well as do older adults feel that HIV testing is necessary for them, and are they aware that they are even at risk for HIV? And so the methods that we would like to use to address these are through our commercial and specifically a communication with doctors. So for our example for this, we want that patients to know that testing is both easy and affordable. And so here we would have a physician say to the patient that HIV can be free, for example, as well as being available at testing locations outside of a primary care physician office. So testing locations as well as clinics and testing centers. And hopefully the idea is that these older adults will understand that HIV is both affordable and easy. And so hopefully when you've been watching this presentation, you will understand why HIV awareness is necessary among older adults, as well as improved HIV testing among older adults. So thank you so much for watching our presentation, and have a good one. And these are our citations.